Out of the three Back to the Future films, I think the second one is my least favourite, but that doesn't mean it's not enjoyable. So this one was released in 1989 and is directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring, of course, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd and Lea Thompson. And the description from IMDb is as follows. After visiting 2015, Marty McFly must repeat his visit to 1955 to present disastrous changes to 1985. Without interfering with his first trip. Needless to say, that sounds chaotic, and of course the film is chaotic. With the first film, there wasn't so much interference because it was his first trip. But now, he has that added dimension of not interfering with that timeline while also not interfering with his first visit. And that's pretty intense, because obviously we have the dimension that if he does even just one thing wrong, it will mess up the entire future, not just for him, for his family, for his friends, associates, and potentially a lot of other things as well. And it is very gripping. I think the repeated time frame makes it a little less thrilling because we kind of know what to expect. It's a little bit familiar, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it's still really enjoyable and the development of the narrative is quite different. It takes a different turn, the tone is different. I feel like it's just a bit darker and a little bit more somber than the first one. The first one's a lot funnier. I love seeing the future in 2015, obviously nothing like what it was. I thought the involvement of the almanac was brilliant. The skateboard's fantastic. I think it was a great interpretation of this. Very unrealistic now that it's after 2015, but I still think it was pretty great, and there wasn't really anything about it that I didn't like, and I think it developed well. The narrative was pretty interesting, and it wasn't as repetitive as it could have been, given the similarity to the first film. When we look at the third film, which is quite different, this one definitely seems very similar. That made no sense. I hope you know what I mean. But even though it is a little bit repetitive, I think it's really interesting still. We get a lot of the same characters. We get to see them in the future, which I think works really well, and I really enjoyed that aspect. Is there anything about it that doesn't work? I don't think so. You know, the acting's great, the characters are great, the special effects are fine. For the age, they're pretty great. And, you know, it was nominated for an Oscar, which is hardly a surprise. It was nominated for the Best Visual Effects. It also won the BAFTA for Best Special Effects. So it's done exceptionally well for itself over the years. I just think it's the weakest link of the three. Not a bad film, and certainly one that I would recommend if you enjoyed the first film, but I think that it kind of is a slight dip in quality, and then the third one is much better. So if you watch the first and then watch this, but don't enjoy it as much, don't be put off with watching the third one, because it is brilliant. But Back to the Future Part 2 is still a classic. It's rare that a sequel is a classic. It's a film that I will happily watch again, and one that I will definitely recommend.